So hey Scott, thanks for joining us today.
No worries, thanks. Thanks for having me.
No, it's okay. So you've just completed the race across Scotland, and not only completed it, but won and smashed the record out of the park. How does it feel?
Yeah, it's just it was just so cool to take part, and it was my biggest race in one go, like without any stops and stuff, like without any sleep. So it was like it was always going to be a challenge anyway, and just to see how I would cope and things like that. And but like to and I probably like because of it was a severe, like the heat was it was really warm weekend, and it was 30 degrees on the Saturday. So because of that, it was like I put records and stuff to the back of my mind. I was just wanting to get through it and not go down or anything with the heat. But after it coming out and getting a course record by over a couple of hours and stuff, and that was like just try to take it all in, going wow. It was like I'm just really chuffed and proud and stuff like that. So yeah, it was good.
How did you cope with the heat? Like, did you have any strategies in place? Like, because it was mega hot that weekend.
Yeah, like I was quite lucky in a sense that I'd done the Dragon's Back race last year, and it was severely hot then. And I feel like I'm this kind of guy now that I'm having every time I go to race or I get a hot weekend, and I'm like, here we go again. Like, give me a bit of luck, because I can cope in rain and wind all day long. But so yeah, the experience of different races had helped me, and I just knew that when it was early, I could bank in some miles in and getting some moving. So I guess that a lot of people probably see me set off quite fast, but I knew that it wasn't in full heat yet. Like in the morning, I thought, right, I can slow down a bit later on. So during the daylight, just trying to slow down and so that you're not consuming a lot of energy for like in the kind of baking heat, and just really just watching, and just go slow and then go a bit faster when the sun went down. So that's what, and it wasn't really a plan, because it probably just happened. It wasn't. I don't think that it was a strategy or anything, but it probably just worked. It just came together.
So. Yeah, because I was just sat at home and I couldn't cope with the heat this week, so it's amazing that you've managed to do that, especially in Scotland, because you're never expecting the heat in Scotland, are you?
No, and you're so exposed. It was just, and like that there was parts maybe you were running like 20-30 miles and stuff like that without any support. So you would, before the checkpoints, and you knew that you had to make sure, and it's all down to admin in it, really, where you're going, you need to get, as soon as you're leaving the checkpoints, make sure you've got enough water and fuel to get to the next one. And I think I was carrying a lot of water. In fact, my wife always kind of laughs at me and says, like, Scott, you're mad. You always carry the heaviest, heaviest backpack, like my hydration pack and stuff. And but I just have this feeling I don't mind carrying extra kit. I just don't want to run out of water and stuff on a hot day. So I was carrying like 3 liters of water. So it's quite a lot. So and then obviously all my other kit, like my food, and then my like mandatory kit and things that you have to take, different spare tops and things like that. So yeah, like the backpack feels a bit heavy when you first put it on, but you just zone out to that, and you just know that it's better to have the kit on you than not have it.
Oh no, exactly. Better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about the course and the route.
Yeah. So the best way to describe it, like I would probably say it's more like fells and stuff like that. Like it's not like your West Highland Way, really runnable tracks and stuff like that. It's because I guess sometimes a lot of walkers are used to like just good real good fire tracks and things like that where they can walk, like the Southern Upland Way. From what I hear, and I think it's come on an awful lot, because I think back in the day, like maybe when they first arranged that race on that route, they would there wasn't, I think there was less posts and stuff out and things like that. So I think they've done a lot as the kind of rangers and stuff to make sure they've got enough of the posts out and things like that. So really that's what you're doing. You're sometimes it's like marked and no paths and things, but you're using your map or your GPS and stuff, and you're just following lines and stuff on the across the hills and along the tracks. And then there's quite a few roads as well, and but that's a bit easier to navigate because you're pretty much straight on until you see the next post or something like that. But yeah, so the route's a good mix of like different terrain and different sort of features, but it is very beautiful. It was my first time experiencing the route, so like my plan was, when I signed up to it last year, I knew this was going to be my A race, and I thought, I'm going to spend loads of time on the route, get to know it, and then yeah, I don't know what happened. I think I get caught up. I've done a couple of races already this year, and then I changed my mind, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go into blind and enjoy the route, and just use, if I need to use some map reading, just enjoy it and get used to the route and things like that, because I think sometimes you get sickened by the same route or something if you're always on it. So I didn't want, because I was on it for 215 miles, I was like, nah, I'll go into it blind and just I'll be fine. So that was my plan.
And what were the checkpoints like on the route?
Yeah, so the checkpoints were we started off with Port Patrick, and the first few checkpoints there was quite a lot of people in it because the race had just started. So there was the GB Ultra guys. They were on the checkpoints, manning them, volunteers and stuff. And then you all the different support crews. So you would get used to the same faces, like the people you're competing against. And they were friendly and giving you a wave and a hello and stuff. So it was nice. But as the event went on and on, you'd see less and less people because the course was getting spread out, and I was never aware of it. My brother, who was part of my support crew, explains it quite well. He says, Scott, what was beautiful about what you were doing is like you were so humble about like going, are they chasing me? Are they still like I would say once or twice, I would say, so are they nearby me and stuff like that? And then he was like, Scott, you've got a huge lead, don't worry about it. And I was like, all right, no worries. So it made sense then, because maybe the when you would get to the checkpoints, they hadn't set up the checkpoints yet because they were still the other ones open. So they were like, they were saying to my support, your brother needs to slow down so that we can get these checkpoints open and things like that. So yeah, it was just a bit of fun really. But yeah, it was it was a good event, and you could see it's how hard it is to manage like such a big race. It's the biggest one I've ever done, but just you get guys that way at the back end and guys at the front end. So it was good.
And what were there any highlights of the race for you? Was there any like key moments, or is it just a big blur still?
No, like absolutely. Like I don't know if these are highlights or scary moments, but I'm going to tell you anyway, right? But I was so after day one, I was like, I knew that I was feeling quite comfortable, but I actually knew that I had like 3 days, like potentially like nearly 3 days of racing. So I was like, I just need to just be sensible, and so I decided to run with the guy who was basically directly behind me, a guy Keith Wigley. So we were running together, and then we also ran with another guy, Woody. So these guys were nice guys, really fit guys, and we decided just to, well, not really Woody, but like it just happened when he joined us at a part, and we ran together for a bit. So But after that, I always felt I was always quite in control, because the pace was probably their pace rather than my pace. So night one wasn't too bad, and we were together. So it was again, you're fresher because it's the first night. But on day two, I'd woke up and just decided that I wanted to open up, and I knew that I could. To be honest, I just knew that I had the pace that I could move on and move away for these guys. So I did that on day two, and I was out on my own. And I started building some miles and stuff. And then when I got to the nighttime section on day two, I was up in the hills, and I started getting hallucinations. I started hallucinating about, like, I was thinking I could see my brother in the woods, and it wasn't him. It was like a stile in the fence, and I was like really freaking out. I was like waving at him as if he was there, and it wasn't even him. And I was like, "What am I doing?" And then I thought that these two guys that were behind me, I kept thinking I could hear them shouting at me, and then I was like looking around, and there was nobody there. I was like, I need to sort this out. And then my head torch had been on for a while, and I was carrying a spare head torch in my bag. My head torch was starting to go, so I thought, right, that's okay. And it went down to the lower setting because it was on its way out. And I was like, right, I've got a spare head torch, but my head torch that was in my bag must have been on, must not have been locked, and it had been on in my bag. So the battery was gone. So I was like, I can't believe this. I'm in the forest in the middle of the night, like in night two, and I've got no head torch apart from a little bit and this one to get me by. And so yeah, that was a bit of a kind of frightening moment, because I was like trying to concentrate more when I was tired, which was draining me more. And then there was another moment as well. This was later. I think it was the next morning, early in the morning, and I was cutting across a field, and I went. There was a few fields where we had to cut across where there was cattle in it, and this one particular field, there was a lot. As soon as I went across this kind of, most of them were like stiles that you can jump over into the field, and I knew that I was going straight across this field, and most of the cattle had went down to the bottom of the field. But I didn't see to my right hand side there was a big, massive black cow, and it was huge. It wasn't a bull; it was just a big, angry cow, and it was coming at me from the side. And I turned round, and it must have been about 10 meters, if that, away from me, coming charging at me. And I always kept my poles in my hand. So I lifted my poles up and shouted something like, "Get away," like that. And it just stopped in its tracks. It made a big noise and then ran down the bottom of the field.
Oh,
and I was freaking out. I was like, and I'm not scared of cows or anything, but like, honestly, if I don't know, like if I hadn't looked to my right hand side, it was going to get me. So I was angry because I was cut. I don't know. So I don't know if anybody else had any problems in that field, but that was one big scary cow. So yeah, that was another one. There was I think all the checkpoints went pretty smoothly. Like every time I was in, like I had my brother Kevin, I had Fiona and Steve, and these guys were good, and you know they were kind of well drilled and stuff like that. So the guy Steve. By the time the race was finished, his foot massages were getting better and better. It was just so. I was like, he was actually sending me to sleep with these foot massages, and that was like, but yeah, I think they were the kind of highlights of the. On one of them, when it was a scorching day on day one, right at the end of the day, I was just coming into a checkpoint, and there was a river there, and I get into the river, and it was the best feeling ever. I was just like swimming in the river for about 2 minutes, and looking back, I probably wish I'd stayed in there for about 10, because even by the time I got up to the checkpoint and I sat down in a chair and was getting my stuff sorted, getting into dry clothes again, I was just like still overheating from that. So I thought that was the best thing ever, just getting in and getting like cooled down a bit and getting the body temperature down for that day. So it was so good.
what training did you have to do for the, like, how did you train for this? Because obviously you can't get that many miles in training runs.
Yeah. So yeah, like it was something that like was definitely, you know, thinking something that went over my head like a load of times, like going, I'm getting this right, because I work full time. I've got a gym and stuff, and I'm busy, you know, like busy PT and I run classes at my gym and everything like that. So like life is kind of full on with kids and then work balance and everything. And I don't get it right, but I'm not going to pretend I do. So, but like, so I try and do what I can, and I'll try and train through the day. I'm lucky enough to do that because of my job. So I try and run through the week, through the day, and then at the weekend I'll always try and get a big long run done. So I think I was just trying to increase those long runs at the weekend, and then yeah, like I did see just before the end, like one of the guys, like a few of the guys were doing like double runs and stuff and triple runs in a day, but you know I just stuck to my normal training, but just increase the volume a bit in the weekends and stuff. So and I had to just be confident that that was going to be enough, rather than, you know, I think it's all right if you've got the time, or you're a full-time athlete or something. But if you're if you're a working guy like myself, then you've got to do what's right for you, and that was right for me. So the volume, I wasn't sure about it until I did it, but after doing it now and doing it the way I did it, like I'm glad that I carried, you know, just done what I did, because it was plenty. I think it's 100% mental. I think somebody summed it up. One of my friends, Vivian, summed it up perfectly. She says, she goes, how's your legs and stuff? And I was like, my legs are fine. It's just my feet are a bit sore. But she goes, you probably ran through the DOMs. And I was like, you know, she's probably right. You know, I probably get DOMs in day one and ran straight through them for 2 days. So, but yeah, like it's 100% mental. It's just who's willing to endure more, like, and that kind of thing. So yeah.
What did you eat throughout the 200 miles?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, there's been times in the past, in my early days, I used to do 24-hour events, and I would like go, yeah, and I would do events where I would no feel like eating, and then allow myself not to eat. And what I didn't know is like the energy would be getting zapped out of me, and it's just it's like no putting fuel back in the car. So I then learned so much for that about nutrition and things like that. So then I then changed all that up, and now I just fuel up as much as I can, and as soon as I get in, I don't give myself an option. I just hopefully have choices there, and I usually there's different. You never ever feel like you can never really plan it where you're going to go, I'm going to eat this, because you never want that to eat when you get in. You just need to have a few good choices and go right, and you always just feel like something. Then the next time you come in, you'll look in, you'll just have loads of different stuff, and it's not always like healthy options. And sometimes it's like it could be chips, it could be anything, and it could be anything at all, and or sandwiches or soup or like whatever, or sweets, and you just got to pick and choose whatever you feel like eating. So yeah, I think it was just having a variety of stuff and just eating what you can, making sure, like especially the weather we had there, making sure you're constantly getting the electrolytes in and salt tablets and things like that.
Yeah, I bet. Oh my god, I bet hydration and electrolytes is like massive.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And making sure I was just trying to make sure I was getting like at least 500 mils of water every hour. You know, just like at least that. But then again, just having to make sure you don't run out of water if it's a big section. So yeah, so that was the aim. Just having things in your head that you're eating like kind of like small amounts but often, and drinking and things like that as well right through the race, that you don't just start neglecting one.
Yeah, I mean, people don't realize how much nutrition is important, is it, for running? Like, it's a bit like
Yeah,
ultra running is just a bit like an eating competition.
yeah, that's it. That's what I say all the time. It's just an eating competition, and if you can do well at that, that's why probably when I was quite when I was just starting out, I didn't quite understand that, or maybe just never wanted to learn, and but the more I've been doing it and doing well at different races and things, I was thinking actually I need to take it seriously, and since doing that, it's helped me massively, and you know, and yeah, and just I think I always knew what to have and things like that, but just never really done it as well as I do it now. So
Yeah, it's just practice, isn't it? Trial and
yeah,
error.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What made you choose race across Scotland then?
Because well, I actually had never heard of it until one of my friends, Trevor Psycho, he's from America, and he had won maybe the first race or something they had when they first put it on, or something. And he done it in something like, I think if I remember right, it was at 65 hours or something. And then so I remember looking at it going, you know, that's in Scotland, and it's so, and you always like I think in this kind of ultra world, you're a bit of a special breed where you always want like to go to the next level and go, right, I've tested myself at 24 hours, I've tested myself at 100 miles, what's next? And that was always the case where I did always want to try a 200 miler or something. So I was wanting to do it, and then I checked it out a couple of times. I think when COVID happened and things, that just put me onto other things, different challenges for a while. But and then that I knew last year I wanted a challenge for this year, and it needed to be something big. And I thought that's it. That's going to be my race for this year, and it's in Scotland. It's my backyard, and then my goal was to win it. That was my ultimate goal would be to win it. Podium would be nice, even if I never. And I did know that. It was a genuine. I've told a lot of people, I says that I'll be very happy with just getting on the podium. And then when it got closer, I started going, actually, don't worry about where you come, because you're not in control of who turns up. So I was like, just enjoy it, and go for, like, just go. As long as you have a good race, you could actually get close to the course record. And I was like, no, that'd be fine. So I changed my whole, like, you know, what I was wanting to do, and I was like, I'm not actually too bothered about where I place, as long as I have a good race. And then yeah, I managed to nail them all. So, and like, considering the weather, I was just so chuffed, I was chuffed to bits, because I've yeah, it was just so hot for 2 days. So it was definitely going to have an impact. So, but I know it couldn't have been a better weekend as in results wise. So
And how are you now, like recovery wise?
yeah, my body feels good. Just my feet. I actually I see a lady in where I live. She'll sort my feet out before races, and she'd scheduled this one because it was such a big race. My appointment for after this one, just to make sure they were okay. And I was actually dreading that, so I was there this morning. I've not really left the house. I've just had my feet up and relaxing. Been lucky enough to take a holiday from work. Um, I'd planned well, and so I had my sorry, I went in and got my feet sorted, but they're a wee bit sore to walk on. But apart from that, I'm pretty good. The worst thing I've had is the hiccups. I got the hiccups 3/4 of the way into the race, and I only just get rid of them at 3 o'clock in the morning. So
What?
thought we were going to come back there, and yeah, I've basically had them for, I don't know, it must have been something like 36 hours. So
Oh no.
that was tougher than the race itself. It was just like constant. And my wife Kerry was saying it was worse when I was sleeping. It was just, I was like just shaking the bed and making noises and stuff. So yeah, that wasn't nice. I don't know how that. I looked it up. I googled it, and they say it's common and stuff like that when you really put your body under severe stress and
Okay.
carb drinks and stuff like that, and different things in it. And a couple of times I would drink Coca-Cola and stuff like during these stuff. No, most of the time it's water and electrolytes and stuff, but now and again I'll have a coconut that I
Need a
find
fizzy
helps
drink.
me. And yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I remember drinking some Coke and it never went down too well, and I think that was the start of it, and then it just never left. So that was tough going, but yeah, I'm glad they're gone. Hopefully they don't come back.
Oh yeah, I've never heard of that before.
Oh no, like I've actually only had it once before, and it was a while ago. It was maybe like 5 years ago, and I remember it was only when I was thinking this morning, did that ever happen to me? But it did happen once, and I don't think I had it as long. I think it maybe was like for like say 5 hours or something. But it just shows you how much stress you maybe put your body under. So
yeah. Well, big question. What's next?
yeah. So well, I've done like I actually don't really know. I'm just going to, because this was my big race for this year. I've ran a couple of other ultras and I won those this year, so that was 3 out of 3, and I'm just chuffed to bits. So I'm just going to sit back and I'm going to do the winter spine race in January. So that's going to be brutal. So I'm going to do that, and then who knows? I'll do one, you know, next year as well. I'll do a couple, but I've not got anything in stone yet apart for the spine race and stuff. So, but yeah, and I'll maybe go back and do the GB one. It's one of the GB Ultra races because I really enjoyed they're just such a nice bunch of guys as well. Wayne was really nice, and so was the other guys I met. So I would do one of those again as well. So.
Oh, fab. And last question, what would you suggest to anyone that's interested in doing the race? Have you got any recommendations or tips?
Yeah, I think it's such a long time. Maybe take my advice and maybe do what I did and buddy up with somebody the first night. And you know, I knew that these guys were like good guys, and they'd be strong enough to be moving fast enough just for the first night and things like that. Don't try and race it like it's a 24-hour race. It's like a long way, and otherwise you'll just burn out, and just don't be scared to rest up as well. And that sometimes people go on their feet too long, and instead of maybe taking a bit of rest, I had a couple of rests during it where I slept for one of them I slept for nearly an hour, and then the other one I slept maybe a bit less, and it was so then. But they really made me feel better, and I felt fresh every time I was getting up, and just yeah, preparation's always key, but just having the right attitude, that like when you go into it, like you know, and just having a strong mind, and that you know, and try not to think about like the distance and things like that, and the time, and just switch off, just to just take in the scenery. And every time I go out, especially things like that, I just try and switch off and enjoy what's around about me. And if you can do that more than counting distance and things like that, then you're on a winner, because time just goes away, and before you know it, there's another day going.
Oh, thanks so much for joining us, Scott.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
I hope your feet get better soon.
Thanks, me too.
I will speak to you soon, hopefully, on the next race.
Yeah, thank you.